How do guys, Travis here again, and today I'm going to show you a cheap alternative to Games Workshop's contrast paints.
What are you bloody doing? It's me that does all cheap alternatives. It's me that does all how to makes and all that. Stop stealing my thunder. Give you a bloody clout.
Well, someone had to do it, didn't they? So the Ecoline paints that we're going to use here are super transparent, super thin, and over a grey base coat with a white Zenithal highlight, you just slap them straight on. Because they are so thin and they act a lot more like a wash, they will run into all the crevices, fill everything up and tone all the white and grey areas really well. You really don't have to be clean with this part, just get it slapped on as quick as possible. As you'll see later on, I end up getting it all over the base, but just make sure you get everything covered nice and evenly, more than anything. Spots that are pulling, just tidy them up. As you can see, it's all over the base. I've got it everywhere now. Once you're done with that, on to painting all the silver. This is only a really basic paint scheme, just 3 colours, tabletop standard. I'm using Vallejo metal colour, jet engine I think it is. It's one of my favourites. Once again, it's a really thin paint. Pick out all your details, make sure all the gun's done, vents on the back, the little backpack underneath this. Obviously, like I said, it's not a very detailed model, there's not a lot to this, and this is more showcasing the yellow than anything else. But it just shows how quick you can get things done using this paint that I found. Final few bits, tidying up that silver, making sure it's all covered. Onto the black pipes at this point. It's a really simple model, and then there's just a bit of red on the front for a dash of colour more than anything. You would add some stencils onto the shoulder pads once you're finished, but just a test model, so I'm not going to go too in depth with this one. base black. I just literally whacked it all over around the rim, on the top. And obviously you could finish off with doing a bit more basing, using some of the Luke's APS base ready range would work really well with this, nice and quick. Cutting that time down for getting your models on the table. And there you go. As you can see, the grey is tinted, and where the white is, it's super bright yellow, so you do get that nice effect of a shadow. And honestly, I'm really impressed with this, and I really do want to put it up against the contrast paints now. So there you have it, and as you can see, they work really well. I do recommend shooting them through an airbrush, but you can use them with a paintbrush as well. Make sure if you are going over white that it's a matte white, not a gloss white, because the gloss becomes aquaphobic and then they just run everywhere and it becomes a nightmare. You still get the little build up in the back of the legs, like what the contrast does where it builds up the orange, builds up to an orange. So there's a lot of similarities between them and how they work. But obviously even this, as you can see in the back of the legs where there's more grey in the darker areas, it still tones that grey, but you can see it's a shadow underneath. So I was really impressed by that. I haven't played with the contrast paints yet, so that is going to be something that I do. I'm going to go and pick a couple up tomorrow and we'll do a side-by-side comparison and a speed paint test to see which one we can get done quicker. I've got another couple of these, so I will paint 2 of these up side by side. I might do the blue this time or a green and try something different and see what kind of effects we can get. But with these, what I will say is, as they are watercolour, you can, once you've painted it on and before you matte varnish it and seal it shut, if you want to, you can actually create a white edge highlight by lifting the paint away, lifting the watercolour paint away, going with a wet brush and just run across the edge of any of the edges you want to pick up like a brilliant white highlight, and it will lift that paint straight off. Just, it kind of reactivates again with water. That's one of the reasons why you do need to seal them, because if you don't, you're going to smudge them and they can look a mess like that. So there is a bit more work, but it's still less time and less drying time than the Games Workshop contrast paints. I've had these for months as well, and I've never thought about using them, and I'm like, and when Games Workshop first mentioned contrast paints, I was like, they might work very similar. I'd toyed with the idea of actually using these in the past, but obviously this was the big kick up the butt to actually use them and test them out. At $5 a bottle, they are roughly the same price as the Games Workshop ones. So if that's what you're going to pay anyway, this might be another viable option. This might be a viable option for more seasoned painters or professional painters. I know there's a lot of pro painters out there. As far as being an experienced painter myself, there's a lot more I can do with these than possibly I can do with the contrast paints, from what I've seen so far anyway. I'm not going to say contrast paints are terrible and I won't use them, because I think they're going to have the place in my workflow, especially for doing the big commissions and the big, I've got horde armies to paint at the minute, so getting through lots of miniatures. If I can find a couple of colours that I like, then yes, I probably will use them, but that's something we're going to see. Hopefully we'll pick a couple up tomorrow morning and we'll test them out over the weekend. Right then, enough of the rambling. Before we go, I have just done, I know some of you might have seen it, I've got a new merch line. I've just designed a t-shirt, so if you want to check that out, the links will be in the description down below, and the links will be in the description for the paints as well on Amazon. If you want to use the affiliate link, that helps me out. If you get it from Amazon, don't affect you, just helps me out a little bit. I'll get a bit of a kickback. And yeah, like, subscribe, share, do all the usual stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Travis out. Peace.